Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. It's 5:45 Central Time. Moneyline MMA coming back at you with picks for UFC 299 coming up at us. Excuse me. This, of course, is the touted bout between Sugar Sean O'Malley and Vera, Cheeto Vera. The second fight, of course, Cheeto Vera using his leg kicks to knock down O'Malley, cause an injury, and get a TKO finish in their first fight. But now O'Malley is the champ, looking to defend his title in this rematch. These fights will occur in Miami, Florida, of course, Saturday, March 9th. Early prelims starting at 5 p.m. Central. You're going to get your usual 9 p.m. Central time main card start. Before we get too deep into our 299 picks, let's quickly recap so everybody can remember how our picks from last week went. And overall, it was a really great week, I would say, with another solid week, specifically of 5 weights. Jose continues his 5-weight streak of wins, and I also have now begun a streak of 5-weight wins. As I have chosen Merab Dvalishvili 2 weeks ago, I got Yasmin Yargway last week in this past past Saturday. Muhammad Mokaev wrestled his way to victory. I have to admit it wasn't that exciting of a fight, but does it have to be exciting? He won it. He out-wrestled. He did what he needed to do, and Mr. Perez is a good UFC veteran, but that's all you're going to get out of him. Mokaev making the belt title shot call out. I don't think he deserves it yet. I really don't. But that's besides the fact. Jose's 5-weight Umar gets the job done. He got rocked early in the fight. I wasn't watching it live initially, and I saw online like some tweets about Umar get rocked. Umar's rocked. He's gonna lose, and I'm like, whoa, really? And I look at the replay and go, lo and behold, yes, very much so rocked, and had to scramble into a wrestle transition to avoid, getting beat down on pretty much. Umar gets knocked down, but still wins the round. I mean, how impressive is that? On every judge said he still won that round. Very impressive. One of the judges gave him a 10-8. I mean, what a output there by Umar Nurmagomedov to get the unanimous decision win all the rounds. Got to give him some props for that. And honestly, he's got to be a future title challenger, is what I'm looking to say. That's crazy. As far as Eric Honors, Jose's 4-weight, also gets the job done against Jamie Pickett, a decision win. So that's another win for Jose. But of course, Jose and I agreed on our 3 weights. We matched. And Shamil, what a disappointing performance out of Shamil, man. He just gassed out. I think it's quite obvious, and there's not much more to say than that. He showed some good wrestling prowess in the first round. He gets a takedown. In my opinion, he ends up winning the round, maybe just because of he kind of got out jabbed in the first 2 minutes, lands the takedown. I think he ended up winning the round, in my opinion. But in any case, it doesn't matter. He gets finished. He was breathing with his mouth so wide open it looked embarrassing. And I mean, you could have turned the fight off after the second round, knowing that you weren't going to win if you were on Shamil's side. So he's going to need to do a lot of training for conditioning in his next camp. I think he might need to lose some weight or do something, because he's going to have no chance against the ranked UFC heavyweights with that kind of conditioning. Moving on, Steve Erceg. He was my 2-weight. So that's all of Jose and I, both 2-1, going down to our 2 weights. And Steve Erceg gets the job done, stood in the pocket, knocks out Matt Schnell. And Vitor Petrino also retiring Tyson Pedro. Goodbye. Tyson Pedro says he's going to maybe fight in the regional scene, but he's going to go back home, and he is done fighting. So goodbye to him. And in the end, Jose and I both post 4-1 days last Saturday. So make sure to keep following us here. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because we are live every Monday before the UFC fights at around this time, 5:45 p.m. Moving forward, we're going to give 5 picks each from UFC 299. And as a quick reminder to anyone new, we give our picks with weighted systems in which we pick 5 fights from all of the offers on the prelims and the main card for UFC 299 and order them from 5 to 1, with the 5 weight being the heaviest, most confident pick of UFC 299, moving down to the 1 weight. Now, of course, those are the 5 picks of the 11 or 12 fights on the card, so it's already confident enough to have said that you're picking said fighter, but you're also weighing them in order of confidence. And that being said, we're going to get right into it for UFC 299 and start with my 5 weight of Saturday afternoon. I'm going to take us right into the prelims, actually. As much as I wanted to take a fighter on the main card here, we're going to go into the prelims to start our day, our afternoon, our analysis of UFC 299, because I have Mateusz Gamrot beating Rafael Dos Anjos as my 5 weight pick. I think this is quite a common pick, as Mateusz Gamrot is a pretty heavy favorite in this fight as well. Just looking on FanDuel right now, he's a minus 430 and RDA is a plus 300. I don't need to really speak much about this guy's history, right? RDA is a former champion, and Mateusz Gamrot is a prospect moving up. And I don't know if you've noticed, Jose, but I feel like one of the themes of this card, if we were to give UFC 299 a nickname, it would be something about changing of the guard. We have a lot of fights on this card in which a younger fighter in the up and come is fighting an older veteran fighter to see what they really have. And of course, I feel like this is another somewhat of that situation for Gamrot. Although Gamrot's fought some of the top end fighters already in the lightweight division, like Dariush, the former title challenger, and Fiziev, who was also trying to get to a title chance by fighting Gaethje, who kind of starched him. So that being said, Mateusz Gamrot has some good experience in the UFC. He's fought some top-end fighters, and he's done what he's needed to do against all of them besides Dariush. But RDA does not bring, in my opinion, the same threats as Dariush does, because Dariush was his defensive scrambles are just next level. And I personally don't think that RDA is going to be able to get off of his back. I respect RDA and all of the wrestling he's been able to do in his day. So, and I realize that at heart, RDA is a wrestler. You look at him statistically, and he lands an above average amount of takedowns. But I just don't think in this case that he's going to be able to land more takedowns than Mateusz Gamrot. And to be honest, I don't like him at all on his back. I don't think he's going to be able to scramble like Dariush did. And I think Gamrot is just simply better on the feet. So to me, I'm very confident here. You're gonna have to parlay Gamrot, taking him at 4 to 1 odds. There's a good reason he is that big of a favorite, but you can trust me on the fact that he will be worth adding to your parlays on Saturday night. Jose, what do you got?
Yeah, for this fight, I completely agree with you, Nick. I also ventured out of the main card for this pick, and I have Gamrot as my 5 weight. And you said it best. I think Gamrot in this case is definitely going to be the better. RDA is a great wrestler, but I do think in this matchup, Gamrot's actually going to be the better wrestler. And you know what's scary about it is just this card in general. There's just so many dudes that can beat each other, and I truly believe this is a passing of the torch. RDA is up there. He's 39 years old. But he's still, it can still be winnable. He's still winning games. I mean, winning fights. And it's always between either it's going to be a decision or, as of lately, more of a submission. So he is showing that he has his submissions still as a threat, but Gamrot has never been submitted in his career. And I just think he's looking just too good right now, coming off two wins. No, they weren't like the craziest, cleanest wins. I think this is one where he's really going to put it on and show a legitimate win that's just going to be almost clear as day, unanimous decision if he doesn't get a finish. RDA is not an easy guy to finish. He has been KO'd 4 times, and Rafael Fiziev has knocked him out in the 5th round. So if Mateusz doesn't out wrestle him and win this via unanimous decision, who knows? Maybe he could out of his 23 wins, 8 of them come via KO. maybe he can clip RDA, but I think what's most likely to happen is just Mateusz Gamrot's going to out wrestle him, outstrike him on the ground, and pretty much I think that may be the story of that fight. But again, RDA is just I'm really surprised how big of an underdog he really is at plus 300 because he is also a well-rounded fighter and he's a former champ and there's still some 39-year-olds still getting the wins out there and RDA could be one of those dudes. So it's just how the order of everything falls out on my lining, but like when it comes to my ranking of these fights, but in general, yeah, I feel strong enough that Gamrot is going to get this win, so he is my 5 weight as well, Nick.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So we got matching 5 weights. That's a very rare occurrence. I'm not sure. I think that's the first time in 2024. Moneyline MMA's had matching 5 weights. I believe it's happened before last year, but this year this is the first time we make these weights and picks individually, and then come to the show here and just briefly discuss them ahead of time. So that's pretty cool that we both have the same 5 weight. And to be honest, man, you saying that Mateusz Gamrot is probably the better wrestler gives me so much more confidence too. That was something I was curious to ask you about because I had an inkling, that I know Mateusz Gamrot is very good offensive wrestling, and decent defensive wrestling as well. But I wasn't like I haven't been able to see so much of RDA's like heyday victories and stuff, but at the same time, he's not the same guy. I'd compare maybe RDA to like the name Jim Miller comes to mind, who we're going to see UFC 300 in terms of having success as an older fighter. Like, talk about just being older and dominating. So I totally have respect for the guys, and I applaud them for that. But Jim Miller's not fighting guys like Mateusz Gamrot. That's all I gotta say. Mateusz Gamrot is a future title challenger in my opinion, and I kind of saw that all the way back to his fight against Arman Tsarukyan, where it was very close, but he gets named as the winner, and I just thought that was so impressive because Tsarukyan is looked at like the next title challenger. So I don't know, man. I think after this fight, a lot of people are gonna respect Gamrot even more. Um, I'm not sure about the finish specifically. I'm just sticking on Gamrot money line, but the fact that you agree that his wrestling might be better just gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, yeah. Without a doubt, I think this, it's just the age too. We just saw Rob Divishvili out wrestle Henry Cejudo, who is a former Olympic wrestler, and I thought, I picked Henry Cejudo that fight, and I thought that, like, oh, they're both really good wrestlers, but I think the Olympic wrestler is just going to slightly outdo him. But no, he was the one that got out wrestled, and I think this is going to be probably something like along those lines where you know it may not be he. And to be honest, I still think Gamrot can out wrestle RDA, but RDA could still possibly maybe get a submission, not off his back, but if he can just reverse the position while they're on the ground, he can, I could see him trying to sink in like a guillotine or something, just kind of more sly and more on the jiu-jitsu side as opposed to be more manhandling like in a wrestling type of way. But I think in terms of control time, I think it's going to go to Gamrot for sure. And again, I think he's going to dominate in general. So I like again as you, he's my 5 weight.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, we definitely both agree, and I won't I won't hold on the point for too long, but I do go to pat myself on the back a little bit for that Rob pick there. He was my 5 weight. Not only did I pick it, but I was pretty confident. And I'm learning, man. Like, I'm learning the MMA wrestling is just so much different than most wrestling, than your traditional Greco-Roman wrestling or Olympic wrestling as you would see it. And yeah, man, it's like so dynamic because you have to worry about knees, elbows, and all this other stuff instead of just pure technique takedowns. It's very interesting. Not that either of these guys that we're discussing here between Gamrat or RDA are Olympic medalists necessarily, but hey, RDA is a stud. I'm excited to see this fight, but he isn't going to win on Saturday. So that being said, let's move on to Jose's 4 weight then, since that covers both our 5 weights. Um, why don't you give us your 4 weight, Jose?
Yeah, so for my 4 weight, this is actually already jump starting to the main event between Sean O'Malley and Marlon Cheeto Vera. Right now, Sean O'Malley is the betting favorite at minus 280, while Cheeto Vera is the betting underdog at plus 210. We know the backstory between these two. We know that Cheeto has the win the first time they matched up, but it was kind of weird because of how Sean O'Malley rolled his ankle. And since then, he's been saying he's been saying, "Oh, I'm actually truly undefeated," which obviously is not true. He definitely has that one loss on his record. But who's to say he would be? Maybe he would be undefeated if that never happened. Who knows? But he's come back and answered 5 wins, and he was also there was that fight against Pedro Munoz that ended in no contest because of the eye poke, but he was looking really good in that matchup too. It just looked like Pedro Munoz was probably going to go on to lose unanimously if he wasn't KO'd or TKO'd. But that being said, yeah, that because of that, I'm a believer of Sean O'Malley now. Yeah, he's my four-way. Reminds me of Conor McGregor back then. It's like, is this guy really who he is? Is he really to be this big star, and does he really deserve to be here? But when you put out Sterling like that, you deserve to be there. And he's shown nothing but progress over his years. We saw him off Dana White's Contender Series. And back then, he was a small, scrawny guy with a lot of power. And now he looks like he's bulked up, he's bigger. And so I can only imagine a lot more power behind those punches. And his striking in general is some of the best in his division. And, he has that win over Peter Yan too, which was pretty controversial. And for in that one, he still came off with the win, which eventually led him to have this title. And when it comes to the striking department between the two, Sean O'Malley lands 7.25 significant strikes per minute, while Chito Vera lands 4.37. So this is going to be definitely a fun fight on the feet again. I can see Chito definitely landing a good amount of body shots to Sean O'Malley, and he maybe even trying to go more for a takedown. I can see that him being his game plan was Sean O'Malley. What I see in him is doing what he does and just go with the flow, just stay light on his feet and pick and choose his shots. He just because he's so lengthy and tall compared to most of his opponents, it's right here he has a 3-inch height advantage over Marlon Vera, and something that Sean O'Malley just does is just like to pick and choose and look for openings and kind of be light on his feet, almost like he's playing, like he likes to pretend like he's playing basketball out there too. And he just overall normally looks really comfortable. And that being said, I think he's going to piece up Chito Vera, and I think it's going to be more than enough to eventually get a TKO or knockout or TKO. Back then, I thought Chito was the one with more power and would knock out Sean O'Malley. If you were to ask me this like a couple years ago, I would say Chito Vera. He has more power. He's most likely to knock out Sean O'Malley. But as of lately, Sean O'Malley has just been looking too good, almost like it's I don't want to say it's like not fair, but like it's just like he's just looking really good again, which it reminds me kind of Conor McGregor. So that being said, he's not really given me any reason to go against him. And when it comes to Chito Vera too, again he did lose to Corey Sandhagen versus via split decision. So that's not saying much, but Sean O'Malley, phenomenal striker, just like Corey Sandhagen. So if it does calm down, I can see this also being a split decision for Sean O'Malley. So that being said, I've made my point. What are your thoughts on this fight, Nick?
Man, my main, I got 2 words for you mainly here, and those 2 words are leg kicks. Leg kicks. I think that has proven to be Sean O'Malley's weakness, his kryptonite. Leg kicks. The fighters that have done well against Sean O'Malley kick his legs, and Chito Vera is amazing at doing that. He really is. Why would he change up his game plan from what he already done? So then, to me, I'm thinking, well, Sean O'Malley. I've seen a lot more improvement out of Sean O'Malley from his first fight against Chito than what we saw from Chito since fighting Sean O'Malley. I don't know, man. They've both kind of gone a long way. I think Chito's alone had, 5 fights? No, more than that. Cheeto's had like 6 or 7 fights since he last fought Sean O'Malley. It's just been so long. Both of these guys have had a long time to develop and do their thing, right, in this bantamweight division. Sean O'Malley going on a 5-0 win streak, pretty much finishing everybody except Piotr Jan. And Cheeto Vera's done really well for himself outside of, like you said, that split loss to Sanhagen and Jose Aldo, who's Jose Aldo. My one weight here is on Sean O'Malley. I feel like I had to pick a fight in the main event. So maybe it's a little bit of yeah, we're picking 5 fights of the whole card, but I do feel like I should have a say in the main event at least. The co-main event is not in my card though, so I won't have an official say in that. But the main event officially is a one weight on Sean O'Malley, just because of how I opened, man. Those leg kicks are deadly that Cheeto Vera has, whether it's to O'Malley's legs or whether it's to O'Malley's midsection. And I think it's going to keep O'Malley somewhat at bay, or at least hesitation to just unleash. I think Sean O'Malley was really teeing up on Aljo specifically because Aljo's looking to be a little aggressive. He knows if he can get Sean O'Malley's back that it's over. Everybody knows that if he can get Sean O'Malley's back that it's over. And Sean O'Malley knew that too. So he just counter-striked and ended up getting the KO. I'm not sure that'll work as well against Cheeto. He's not hunting for a takedown. I think these guys take a little while to set in. I would love this to be a 3.5 round line, and I'm taking over every single time. I really don't see this fight ending early unless it's maybe the 5th round. But man, to me this is going to be a long, technical, grueling fight where Cheeto knows that he's got to do with his game plan what got him there last time, but Sean O'Malley knows too, and he's got his tricks, and I think Sean O'Malley's improved more. But in the end, I just couldn't be confident enough to bring it above my one weight. So Sean O'Malley, very hesitant on my confidence.
That's an excellent point you raised there, because yeah, those leg kicks could be everything. We saw like how effective they were when Dustin Poirier to Conor McGregor. So yeah, that is definitely something that is actually troublesome, because again, Cheeto does, like I mentioned to you, he has power, a lot of power in his hands, but yeah, as you mentioned, those leg kicks are effective, and Sean O'Malley has been that has been exploited out of Sean O'Malley. So my hope is that he really starts checking these kicks or starts finding some new angles to avoid Marlon Vera throwing those kicks and landing them. Is my best guess, is my best say for him to win this and not have those leg kicks affect him. I think it's just, yeah, be a lot more elusive on the feet. If he's not going to check them, which I think he's probably not going to, now I think about it, I think he's going to be more just trying to bounce out of the way as opposed to going straight on, which is fine, in my opinion, because checking kicks too can hurt and can still, it can still break, you can still break your leg too, even checking a kick, just depending how hard that kick is and how your bones mesh together. But that being said, I feel confident enough still that Sean O'Malley is going to get this W one way or another. And that's like, as you mentioned, both fighters have gotten better. But I think right now, Sean truly is in his prime, and not to say that Cheeto isn't, but I think right now is definitely like Sean O'Malley's time to reign as champ. So that being said, again, yep, I'm strong about Sean O'Malley. He's my 4-weight, and he's your 1-weight.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to also be careful and like falling in the rut of just like with Volk. And dude, I mean, let's be honest. I have a statistic written down here. We've had 7 main events so far in 2024 for the UFC. 5 underdog wins. So I'm trying to avoid the trap of like, yeah, he's the favorite and he's the one that should win. Same with Volk, right? He's the favorite and he's the one that should win. And it seems to make the most sense and things line up and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't end up working out. The underdogs have been dominant this year. So that's another small thing that I wanted to mention in terms of why I'm nervous about O'Malley. I just don't think it's as given as O'Malley's improved more, which I agree with. I just don't think it's as easy as that. And the truth of the matter is that either one of these dudes are 2 punches away from getting the belt. And shoot, man, I don't have much confidence in that. I said I'm over 3.5 rounds. I don't think they finish each other, but it's possible.
Facts, and if you're someone that is definitely leaning towards the Cheeto Vera route, then I would say that's definitely something to make that bet on because there's definitely a lot of value, and then it's very. I'm surprised the money line isn't actually closer for this fight than what it is.
Yeah, it's just O'Malley's hype. Like I truly believe, like O'Malley is probably see it's an interesting point too. I just thought of, man. Think about UFC narrative. We were talking about it the other week. They don't want another Conor McGregor. It's too expensive. Wouldn't it not be maybe a little better for the UFC if Sean O'Malley had hit the brakes a little bit, maybe? You know what I mean? He's gonna be too big. He wins that. He defends the belt, man. Oh no, Sean O'Malley's gonna need like 40 mil a fight.
That's facts, but like I don't know. I feel like maybe that'd be something like they'll just like like they'll probably just have to sort out later. Like they'll think about
Yeah.
like how can we minimize Sean O'Malley's influence outside of just fighting? How can we keep him more under wraps and have him stay in his lane, even if
First
he
ever
keeps winning?
belt on a fight night. Make him defend his belt on a fight night.
Oh God,
That would be such a
dude.
slap. Oh gosh.
Not even. He's the co-main event of fight night.
Oh, dude, put him as a co-main behind some girls.
I
Sheesh.
oh
Talk
my
about
goodness.
quiet down.
Yeah.
Dude, wait till like Aaron Blanchfield. Wait till she gets her title shot. Make it like Aaron Blanchfield versus whoever, and then Sean O'Malley. Oh, dude,
Oh
he'd be
my.
so mad.
Dude, I would say, yeah. He's like, oh man, he's gonna pull up a Raul Rosas Jr. type of thing. He's gonna start
Yeah,
feeling sick
true.
right before the
Uh
fight.
oh, I got a hurt stomach, and then I can't
Uh,
show up next week either. Bye. Oh, dude,
Yo,
I saw a
yo,
hilarious meme too. You made me think I saw a hilarious meme. I was gonna send it to you. It was Raul Rosas's dad. He tweeted and made like a public comment. It's a meme, right? It's a meme. He made a public comment. He's like, "Yeah, Raul Rosas isn't gonna be able to fight anymore until he comes home and does his chores." Oh,
oh, like
he's a child, man. I'm telling you.
that's yeah. That's might as well. This he may have to start doing those chores if he's not fighting. So
He certainly is not making any money. That's for
yeah.
sure. Not showing up. At least I doubt it. I'd be surprised if the UFC paid him anything for backing out. They should pay his opponent for being ready and
Oh yeah.
weighing in. Maybe he gets paid a little just for being on weight. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I think he still gets show up. I think they get. I think he still gets show up money.
wow. They're
Yeah.
gonna start writing that in as a loophole to contracts though, because fighters will just show up hurt, and then the night before they'll
Dude,
weigh in and they'll be hurt, and then they'll just be like, oh, actually I can't fight, man. But hey, that check, yeah, I weighed in, so I need that check.
yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be a
That's
problem.
that is. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Raul just like unlocked a new
A new
threat to the
meta.
UFC.
Get a paycheck without even fighting. Oh man, but your
Yeah.
reputation does take a hit too. Like I'd be curious to see they'll book him again soon, and I'm curious if they'll book him against the same guy and if his odds are any different. Because I do feel like public perception probably changed. Oh, I think Jose got froze.
Oh yeah. Even
Oh, there we
I'm
go.
happy. At it.
You got
Oh
froze on
yeah.
an unfortunate face for a second. I was like, oh no.
Oh, but I was gonna say no, yeah, like after like they canceled, like I had Raul Rosas Jr. the last 2 weeks, and then but like I didn't even talk about him last week just
Yeah,
because like of how like not as confident I was already about him like calling off like well he called off again last minute, so
yep,
I was losing already confidence from him having to push it and go to a catch weight. But anyways,
right.
that that being said, man, yeah, this is one where we both got Sean O'Malley, but yo, Chito Vera is a legitimate threat, and if you guys are looking at him, like that's uh you can get some good returns because he's the underdog on that one.
100%, man. That being said, let's move right on to my four weight pick. We're going back into the prelims for my four weight pick, and it's one that I couldn't bring myself to make a five weight, specifically because this is the heavyweight bout of the prelims, and of course that's Jailton Almeida versus Curtis Blades, and I like picking heavyweights. It's such a fun division, but like I had to hold myself back from making it the 5 weight because it's just such like a either guy could throw that punch to knock someone out because they're 230 plus pound. Curtis Blades doesn't usually fill out the full 265 pound frame, but he actually almost did last fight, so he is getting a little bigger with age. And Jailton Almeida definitely doesn't though. Jailton Almeida is like 240, but either way, 240 pound dudes just swinging like you catch the chin, man. It doesn't matter. You're human. You're going to sleep. So it's hard to put either one of these dudes as a 5 weight. But in the end, my 4 weight here is on Jailton Almeida to beat Curtis Blades. I've been seeing some discourse going back and forth that Curtis Blades is a crazy underdog, blah, blah, blah. The odds on this fight right now, Curtis Blades minus 120, Jailton Almeida minus 106. I'm technically getting Almeida here as an underdog. It's a very slim, but wow. All I have to say is wow. I don't know if it's because like Almeida hasn't he didn't like sweep through Derek Lewis like people thought he would. He like people thought he was going to submit Derek Lewis in like 2 seconds. And because it went the full 25 minutes, people are like, I guess he's not good. But like the thing is man, Derek Lewis kind of like I feel like Derek Lewis knows his weaknesses, and I'm not saying he's just going to become a wrestler, but he's not going to fight a wrestler and not be somewhat prepared. Watching that fight, Derek Lewis pretty much just played defensive on the ground the whole time and covered his neck and made sure not to get submitted. I would argue it's not easy to submit a human being that knows what they're doing on the ground if that's the only thing they're trying to do. Derek Lewis wasn't trying to reverse the stance and get on top, right? He was just defending himself, and he defended himself well. What I'm getting at here is I don't knock Almeida's stock because he couldn't finish Derek Lewis. I don't. Derek Lewis is a seasoned veteran of the UFC. He's never going to be easy to finish for anybody. That's crazy. He still unanimously won that fight. It wasn't close. It wasn't even worth thinking of it being a split decision. Everybody knew he won the fight. But all of a sudden he's an underdog now against Curtis Blades, who in my opinion is a subpar wrestler in this scenario. Of course, compared to the rest of the heavyweight division, Curtis Blades is above average. But he hasn't landed a takedown in his last 3 UFC fights since he fought Jairzinho Rozenstruik and got a decision win. Curtis Blades has 0 submission threat. Curtis Blades will get a sloppy takedown and win the round being on top. Curtis Blades will not submit you. Jailton Almeida, in my opinion, is another scenario. I'm curious to see what your final thoughts are, Jose, but I would make the stake on the ground and say Jailton Almeida is the better wrestler. And if he wants, and I think he will take Curtis Blades down and make Curtis Blades look like a turtle on its back with like the inability to get up or do anything. I don't think Curtis Blades has any experience being on his back, nor will he be good on his back. And simple as that. I think Almeida gets a submission win and he moves on with his UFC career almost on a fast track to getting a title shot. But yeah, that being said, man, very confident here in Jailton Almeida. What do you got, Jose?
Yeah, Nick, I got Almeida as well. He is my 2 weight just because it is the heavyweight division. And Curtis Blades, we can see a new and improved Curtis Blades, but if it's the Curtis Blades that I've been seeing as of lately, which is actually not that much, I think Jailton Almeida is going to be definitely victorious. And like as you mentioned, if he can't submit Curtis Blades, kind of like he couldn't with Derek Lewis, I think it's gonna be the same thing. It's just gonna be a unanimous decision win. I think he's definitely when it gets to the ground, if they're on the ground for too long, I do think Almeida could possibly sneak in a submission and give Curtis Blades his first loss via submission, or if not, just control him on the ground and eventually maybe even TKO him via ground and pound. Jailton Almeida, I think in this case, is the better fighter overall, and he's been a lot more active in the last 2 years. Since the beginning of 2022, he's fought 6 times, while Curtis Blades has only fought 3 times, and his 2 wins is that one weird TKO win over Tom Aspinall because of the knee injury. But now, we know like Tom Aspinall now being the interim champ. Like if he had a healthy knee, I definitely think this fight would have gone differently. And then before that, he got that win over Chris Daukaus, who's not even in the UFC anymore. And then, most recently, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, and then before that was 2021, Jairzinho Rosenstrike. But even then, yeah, again, since 2022, point is, since beginning of 2022, Curtis Blades hasn't really shown much. He's gone 2-1, and his two of his wins, I don't even know how legitimate they really are. Chris Daukaus really should have been a light heavyweight. He didn't really belong in the heavyweight division at all. And Tom Aspinall, again, that was a freak injury. So, and in the meantime, since then, Almeida has been racking up nothing but 6 wins, and they were all won, like without no question, like without a doubt, he won it. He deserved it. He got his submissions, he got his TKOs, and he got that unanimous decision win over Derek Lewis. In this matchup, yeah, you're right. If he wins, he's definitely gonna bolt, and I can see him being taking that number 5 spot, or if not, pretty close to number 6. And yeah, start fighting guys. One of the more exciting heavyweight prospects. So a win over Chris Curtis, not Chris Curtis, Curtis Blades is will definitely push him to the top. So him being a slight underdog in this matchup is definitely, I see a lot of value in it. Curtis Blades, we were talking about, his wrestling too, especially since that knockout from Derek Lewis. He's not been the same, and his wrestling, I would not say, like, he is known for being a really good wrestler, but I can say after his last few fights, maybe, that's, I don't know if Curtis Blades should be known as that anymore, as being a really good wrestler. So yeah, I would say it go as far as John Mayo will come in with better wrestling, and maybe even more power. So overall, maybe I have Almeida as my 2-weight, but maybe I should have brought him up to my 3-weight. But regardless, he's my 2-weight, and that being said, yeah, I agree with you on Almeida.
Yeah, man, and I think it's fair that you didn't put him. You put him at the weight you put him at, and I pretty much totally agree with your assessments there. I think Curtis Blades just doesn't have the wrestling acumen. I think a lot of it is in part, like you mentioned, Curtis Blades hasn't been submitted before, right? Like maybe Almeida submits Curtis Blades for the first time, and we're on the stream here. We're looking at some of the previous fights that Curtis Blades has had in the UFC, and if I'm being brutally honest, I just think it's a lack of ability for the reason that he hasn't been submitted. I don't think he hasn't been submitted because he's some stud. Like he might as well be in Dagestan, Russia, because he is just such a good wrestler, and wow, he is just a dominant force. Like he pretty much everyone in the heavyweight division is well known to just be a striker. There's not many guys who could submit him anyways. He did fight Alexei Olenek, who's one of the guys who could submit him, and he gets the KO. That was pretty early in his career. But just so many of these fighters wouldn't have even attempted a takedown against him. So this is a one-sided affair in terms of who wants to wrestle here, and I feel like it's just padded his stats, and that's why people regard him as like, oh, he's such a great wrestler, blah, blah, blah. Because you're comparing him to one of the lowest bars that is in the entire UFC. One of the lowest bars, heavyweight wrestling. So even if he's just a little bit higher, his wrestling skills would be worse than like the top 10 of the lightweight division. I feel like maybe not the top 10, maybe, but like straight up, they just wouldn't compare if it was like weight didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree with you. We both agree pretty heavily here. Um, Almeida will get the job done. He will get it done with a good significance, I think, inside the distance against Curtis Blades.
And I do want to add on, yeah, if as you mentioned right there, yeah, who's he gone against? Not heavyweight, yeah, not known to have many good wrestlers. Jalen Almeida, he sports a 75% takedown defense, so I really am interested to see if Curtis Blades really does commit to trying to take him down, how that's going to look, because he's going to be going against someone who's going to be having strong takedown defense. So I'm really excited about this matchup. So that being said, yep, Almeida my 2-weight, he your 4-weight. And we can move on to one of our 3-weights.
Yeah, man. I was just looking at it before we move on. Like the size factor. Almeida's 236 in his last weigh-in, and Curtis Blades 262. So it seems like Curtis Blades is like the perfect heavyweight size where he doesn't really need to cut to get underweight, and he can probably fight at a pretty healthy weight. And of course, Almeida can too, because he's got like 20 pounds or more than 20 pounds, almost 30 pounds of separation there between the limit. So that's just interesting in the sense of Curtis Blades is going to be trying to take down a guy that's smaller than him, but I think more nimble. And I think that's going to go for Almeida's advantage because, of course, if Almeida's on his back, it's going to be worse because he's the smaller man. I think he's going to be able to sprawl or get himself out of those situations. I don't see him at all getting manhandled by Curtis Blades. I think he's just like so built. I think they might even have similar strength.
Yeah, and which is crazy because when you look at Almeida, he does not look like a big heavyweight, but yeah, he is. He's just looks more jacked and ripped. So, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, if he takes him down, I don't see Almeida being on the ground long. Don't even. It's gonna be a good matchup.
That'll be interesting.
It's gonna be a good one. I'm interested. I'm interested. Yeah, I'm interested to see how Curtis Blades is going to come in because I do think even him actually he could implement a good wrestling game plan. I just don't think it'll still be enough to beat Almeida.
Well, that said, let's move on to your three-weight.
Yes, and for my three-weight, this is the opener for the main event, for the main card. It is the bantamweight bout between Peter Yan and Song Yadong. Right now, Peter Yan is the betting favorite at minus 120, while Yadong Song is the betting underdog at minus 106. This one, I'm going to go with Peter Yan. He's, we know he's lost 3 in a row. He's got 2 losses via split decision. One of them including to the current champ Sean O'Malley, and then he lost unanimously to Marab. While Yadong Song, he's been looking good over his last 2 fights. TKO'd Ricky Simone in the 5th round and has a unanimous decision win over Chris Gutierrez. Yeah, I'm going with Peter Yan on this one. I think he's still good. I just don't think the luck's been on his side. And he does have that win in between his losses against Corey Sandhagen, and Sandhagen is just, he's still good too. I think Sandhagen, he's still up there, like still a legitimate threat to get the title, and so he's still hanging up there. It's just been the luck of the draw lately. And Yadong Song himself, he's young, he's 26 years old, but he has a lot of good experience. The people he's being like, I would say the best is his most 2 wins. He actually has a win over Marlon Vera back in 2020 as well. So this one, yeah, like he's still really good, but I think Peter Yan is just gonna come in and be the better striker and just take him down and pretty much win this one unanimously, in my opinion. And the way when it comes on the feet and the striking, Peter Yan lands significantly more strikes than Yadong Song. He lands 5.03, while Yadong Song lands 4.38. I think Yadong Song probably has a little more power behind his punches, but when it comes to grappling too, I see Peter Yan having the advantage in that point. Even though Yadong Song, he does train with Uriah Faber and it is a good grappling school. In this case, though, between the matchup against Peter Yan, I still have Peter Yan being the better grappler. I just think he's gonna just take him down, hold him down, and just have a good amount of control time, and eventually probably look for a KO or a TKO. I don't. Yeah, this is actually gonna be a tough one for me to say if Peter Yan can finish Yadong Song. Yadong Song has actually been he's been finished only twice in his UFC career, and he is a big prospect. But at the same time, it's like he actually does have a good amount of losses already on his record. Like a third of the fights on his record are a loss. So I just don't really know exactly how much of a true prospect Yadong Song is. You probably have a different opinion on that, Nick. But he's just so young too. It's almost like I could see him almost just be like definitely a better version. Actually, I'm not even gonna say it. Actually, I was gonna compare him. I was gonna try to compare him to Rosas Jr., but Yadong definitely has already put in himself. He's beaten better and tougher competition and has been doing it longer. But again,
I think Jose, you're cutting out a little bit. You just cut in. Jose's definitely lagging here. But he did get most of his handicap in, I believe. And he's not frozen, at least in too unfortunate of a face this time. But uh, Jose does have Piotr Jan for that opening main card fight. There you are, Jose. Are you back?
Yo, how much did you hear of me talk?
I think we
Just
heard
wondering.
most of it. I think we heard most of it. You're only gone for like
Okay.
15 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, we heard most
Yeah,
of it. We got that you have Piotr Jan, and it was like right after you were about to compare Yadong Song to Raul Rosas, but then you were like, it doesn't make sense because Yadong Song's actually won some fights, and then it cut out.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Dong Song extremely better, and even the fight again, even the fights Peter Yan's lost, he still looked good and did good things, even though he lost split decision. Many people thought that he actually won that fight against Sean O'Malley. So that being said, like he's still proven he's dropped these guys. Even his losses, he's shown that he's still dropping and hurting them and looking good. It's just
Mm-hmm.
again just the that illegal disqualification to Aljamain Sterling the first time, his own fault, and then two split decision losses. You really could argue they can go either way, and then just he actually just did straight up lose to Marab, but I don't think Yadong Song's going to manhandle him the way Marab did. So that being said, I do have a lot of faith in the former champ, and that's why he's my 3-weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on this fight, Nick.
I do. I definitely do. I feel like it's hard not to have at least an opinion or some thoughts on the fight. And of course, as I'm researching the whole card, I got to pick five of them. So I certainly have some thoughts, but I did not pick up a weight on this fight. So I don't have anything official pick wise. If I was to make a pick though, without the weights, I would pick Yadong Song. We would disagree on this one. I think this is another one of the changing of the guard scenarios, and Yadong Song is just shown to be so superior pretty much against everybody he's fought on the feet besides Corey Sandhagen. But Corey Sandhagen is like a stud, man. And I get that he lost to Kyler Phillips and stuff, but we're talking about fights that happened 3 years ago. That to me is the threshold in which it's kind of like, all right, especially for a younger fighter like Song, when you were talking about his age and being a prospect, like he's changing and evolving. 3 years worth of fights is a lot of experience to gain. And in that time, he went 5-1, beating and knocking out people like Marlon Moraes, Ricky Simone, and he gets knocked out in the fourth round by Corey Sandhagen, technically finished. So Song does have a little wrestling to his game, but he doesn't use it. And you're right, he's not going to push the pace like Marab did. No human being really in this division will be able to do that. And I totally agree with you on Jan having a tough stretch there against the best of the best in this division. So I don't want to knock Jan either. It's not to me saying that I don't think Jan is good anymore or anything. He's still one of the best fighters in the world. And that's what in the end led me to not being able to put any weight on Yadong Song, even though I would choose him if I had to. I just couldn't put any weight behind it, man, because I have a lot of respect for Jan and his ability to not only wrestle defensively, but wrestle offensively if he feels like he needs to. Which will be an interesting kind of clash of styles in the sense that so does Yadong Song. He will land takedowns as maybe as he feels he needs to, but in most cases he's the one getting taken down, and it doesn't matter. Like Ricky Simone took him down twice, still knocked him out in the fifth round, which leads me to this: Yadong Song is coming off three straight main event 5-round fights, where two of them went into the fifth round. One of them almost finished in the fourth round, and he was technically knocked out at the end of the fourth. What I'm getting at is that Yadong Song's been there and done that for a long time. He's got the conditioning, and he's proved it. Petr Yan is coming off of a 25-minute fight in which he got completely outpaced almost the entire time. So conditioning-wise, I'm not at all concerned that Song Yadong or Yadong Song, whatever order that is, will at least be able to stay in the pocket and fight for the full 15 minutes and put his mark on Petr Yan, whether or not he gets the decision win.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Like, yeah, he's gonna be extremely tough, and that's my worry is, yeah, like What if Peter Yan gets another loss, like a split decision loss? I don't think that'll be the case, but I definitely agree it's going to be a battle that'll definitely go to the way end. And that being said, like, yeah, I actually don't know. Some websites have him Yadong Song, some have Song Yadong, and they do the same thing when Zhang Wei Li. Sometimes it's Wei Li Zhang or Zhang Wei Li. I'm not sure what's going on. Why the English to Chinese and back and forth names, like, I don't know why they're always getting mixed up like that. But that being said, yeah, I got Peter Yan. I got Peter Yan as my three weight, and Nick. He does not have a weight on this fight, but he does see Yadong Song as a legitimate threat, so he can't really fully side with Peter Yan on this one.
Yeah, yeah, man. I really do think, I said it kind of at the beginning of the show. It's like this trend of passing the torch, and not to say that I think every single prospect is going to win in these matchups, but I do think a majority will be able to get the job done, and potentially a Dong Song included. But I'm not as confident as I am someone like Jailton Almeida, who is a technically up and coming prospect against a very seasoned veteran like Curtis Blades. And we've also already discussed Mateusz Gamrot, up and comer fighting an old veteran Rafael Dos Anjos. This is a very prominent card with some of those sorts of fighters on there with the up and coming trying to pass the torch to a new crowd of people. And that being said, we're going to go into my three weight, which we could argue is yet another scenario of that, because I am picking as my three weight Jack Della Maddalena to defeat Gilbert Burns. This fight's going to appear right in the sandwiched in this main card. As well, I should say sandwiched as in the sense that it's after Peter Yan versus Yadong Song, the second fight on this card. And look, I got a lot of respect for Gilbert Burns, but the handicap really comes down to the fact that Gilbert Burns is as much of a jiu-jitsu ability as he has. To me, his only method of victory here is the same approach he took against Jorge Masvidal. And yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to execute that against Jack. I think Jack is well versed in his takedown offense. He's posting an 82% takedown defense in the UFC. Not that Kevin Holland's a great wrestler, but wasn't able to take him down. Randy Brown wasn't able to take him down. It's not very common in which you're able to get Jack Maddalena on the ground if you want to. And I don't think, unless Gilbert Burns just shoots like 20 or 30 times, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I think by far Jack Della Maddalena is going to be better on the feet. I think he's going to piece him up and get the win. I don't necessarily think he's knocking out Gilbert Burns. So give me the simple Jack Maddalena and over 2.5. Pretty confident in that. Jack Maddalena is a minus 162 favorite. Gilbert Burns a plus 126 dog. So the odds are somewhat close here. I think you can get good value on Jack. Just betting a single there. You don't have to put him on the parlay to risk it. Because I still have a lot of respect for what Gilbert Burns can do. I just don't think... he hasn't been able to do it against anybody really that respectable in a long time. So that being said, give me Jack Della Maddalena.
That picnic. I like it. This is a fight I actually did not. It was tough for me. To put a weight on it, almost like a passing the torch too, because Gilbert Burns he is kind of getting up there now too, and it's one of those things where he's already had his title shot and he's being good people, and he's lost to really good people like Bilal Muhammad, Khamzat, Kamaru Usman. So and it's tough to say, where does Jack Della Maddalena, where does he stack up with those guys then? Does he can he beat Bilal Khamzat? And that type of MMA math doesn't add up. But Jorge Masvidal, a win over Jorge, I don't know, as Jorge Masvidal's career just aged kind of weird, really good, really popular, and then just really bad. So a win over him, not much. A really good win over Neil Magny. That Khamzat fight was crazy. I thought it was a closer fight than it being a unanimous decision loss. I do think he lost that fight, but I didn't think it was unanimous, because Gilbert shows that he's hard to put out, and if all else fails, he will make it dirty, and he will just start standing in the pocket and just start throwing haymakers with you. And he's shown that he can drop really good people. He dropped Kamaru Usman, he dropped Khamzat, and so if he drops Jack Della Maddalena, I want to see how that looks like on the floor, is Gilbert Burns going to follow up and try to ground and pound on him and use some jujitsu, or is Jack Del Maddalena going to get up right away and just piece him off on the feet and just try not to get into that dirty game? So it's a really tough one because it is. I do like this up and comer Jack Della Maddalena, but Gilbert Burns, like if they're making him like your gatekeeper, that's a really tough gatekeeper because he's a guy that can make it lights out. Both guys are finishers, but Gilbert Burns, he doesn't have as many knockouts on his record, but he does have the power. So that being said, like it's a tough one for me to go. I almost can't say who I still lean towards against. Like I'm not putting weight on it, and even right now, I still can't say who I go for. But I do respect your decision in Jack Del Maddalena. If he wins this, definitely I can see him then going against someone a little bit higher, like another good fight, like against another prospect like Sean Brady, then too, and then eventually he'll start fighting more guys in the top five. So that being said, yeah, I guess can't say much more about this fight.
Sounds good. Yeah, you don't have a weight on it, so don't expect a intense handicap on it anyways. But I also do want to mention that Jack Della Maddalena may not be like some sort of savant at jiu-jitsu or wrestling, but he does have a UFC submission against Randy Brown, which I consider to be pretty impressive. Randy Brown is no pushover in jiu-jitsu. He has, I believe, 5 professional submissions of his own. So Randy Brown is a really respectable man to submit, and obviously he's coming off 2 straight split decision wins. I think he's going to come out with some intensity and want to prove something here and not just end up going to the judges again, because it's been pretty intense for those judge decisions in his past couple fights. I think he comes out with some intensity. He comes out ready to win this fight aggressively against Gilbert Burns. I expect it to stay on the feet pretty much the entire time, and I just think that is advantageous to my friend Jack. And that being said, he is my 3 weight. From there, we have covered Jose's 2 weight. So that just leaves my 2 weight and Jose's 1 weight. No. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's correct.
That's
my
right.
2
Yep.
weight and Jose's 1 weight. What order should we do that in?
You can do your 2 weight, and then we can end it off with the 1 weight. Just go work our way down.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool with
that
that?
makes most sense. Yeah, because it's the 2 weight is a little bit more valued, so we should probably do it in order of that in terms of more confidence first. So my 2 weight is going to be Kevin Holland, the welterweight bout, and of course Michael Venom Page. Wow, I'm so excited that the UFC signed this guy, and I'm going to go right ahead and say that I am taking the dog MVP in this fight. He is plus 108 against Kevin Holland at plus 138. Boy, oh boy, is this going to be interesting. I think Michael Venom Page brings really unique talent to the UFC, and of course, I'd be remiss to say that this is going to be his hardest fight of his career, of course, right? Kevin Holland's a seasoned UFC veteran. I think Kevin Holland pretty much cleans up the competition just as Michael Page did in Bellator. Of course, he did lose that 1 split decision to Logan Storley, but otherwise, I don't know, man. MVP is lights out. We don't really have much tape on him outside of Bellator. That's his entire career is from Bellator, and he's gonna bring a lot of leg strikes to the table. And I think him and Kevin Holland, it's gonna be interesting because Kevin Holland, I feel like I get the sense that he needs to finish somebody or he's not gonna win. And it's not necessarily true because Kevin Holland does have finishes. He's got a lot, 13 KO wins. So most Kevin Holland fans would go, well, what do you mean? But yeah, he's lost more decisions than he's won. That's what I'm trying to see. He's got 4 decision wins and 6 decision losses. I think Kevin Holland is one of those guys that's gonna he looks a little bit worse as the time goes on in most fights if he doesn't have his way per se. And I think there's gonna be another scenario of that. I think Michael Page is going to bring a uniqueness to the cage that Kevin Holland is not ready for. Not that Michael Page is going to walk through him by any means, but I do imagine this goes the distance. So I'm saying Michael Page by decision here specifically. I don't necessarily think he's putting out Kevin Holland. It's possible. Only one man has previously knocked out Kevin Holland. I'm not as confident in that. I am very much more confident in Michael Page by decision here. I think he toughs it out in his toughest test in his professional fighting career. Jose, what do you think?
I agree with you. I think this is going to be his toughest test. The thing is, and I'm gonna be honest, man. This is another fight I did not put on. I did not put weight on it, and reason is I do think that the level of competition though that Kevin Holland has seen is definitely tougher. Even though he's not won them, against like Marvin Vittori, Derek Brunson, but he's won some like against Jacare Souza, Tim Means, and most recently both Santiago Ponzinibbio and Michael Chiesa. But he did lose to Dalla Maddalena, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and of course Kamza. Kamza just completely manhandled him. And then the thing is with Kevin Holland is that he's disappointed me a few times where I felt like there's times where he could have done better. Like that Stephen Thompson boy fight, I felt like he probably could have won it if he approached it a little more differently. Marvin Vittori and Derek Brunson, he was undersized. Kamsa didn't even give him a chance. But it's he's disappointed in the aspect that he's not living up to what he's shown he can do, and that's what my worry is about Michael Venom Page. I think this fight, I thought, you look at it, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a close one if he shows up. If a good, like if a prime in shape, serious Kevin Holland shows up, he's going to give Michael Venom Page a really tough matchup. But Michael Venom Page's striking is just it's another level. It's similar to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's, but I would even argue flashier. I would argue that he has more flashy striking than Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And the only problem was with too is Michael Venom Page is his age as well. He's 36. He's entering the UFC a little more later in his career, and he is 21-2. But he's won almost everyone he's gone against. But when I look at a lot of the guys he's fought, the biggest notable win I can see he has is Paul Daly and Douglas Lima. And even then, Douglas Lima knocked him out, but that was back in 2019. And a lot of these other guys, I'm not too like familiar, Again, I watch Bellator, and I just know that some of these guys just aren't really the biggest names. Like he beat Shinishu Anazi back in was it in 2019 too, and that was a while ago. But I mean, he's 9-6, a 9-6 fighter. Like those are the type of guys that a good amount of guys are like that Michael Venom Page has been fighting against. So I now let's go like even after Kevin Holland, if he beats Kevin Holland, he's definitely going to be a ranked fighter, and then I think and this is like a later down the road type of thing, but I want to see how he truly fits in with UFC caliber fighters. Kevin Holland is a UFC caliber fighter. He's shown it, and it's being legit. Like he belongs in the UFC, but if he shows up and doesn't take it serious, this will be Michael Venom Page's all day. So that's why this was one where I didn't put weight on it either. It just depends which Kevin Holland will show up. Because Michael Venom Page, he does have everything to prove too. We know like he needs to win this, and he knows he needs to win it too because he's making a late UFC debut, and it's like people were talking about him joining the UFC, since like 2019, 2018, and it's like it's about time. Like do you really belong here? Or is it going to be like is it going to be like a Ben Askren incident, or is it going to be like a Michael Chandler incident? So that being said, yeah, I couldn't put much weight on this. It just depends which Kevin Holland shows up. So, and he's kind of been a little more on the disappointing end, so that's why I didn't have much say in this. But that's how I feel about this fight, Nick.
Yeah, dude, that honestly makes complete sense and pretty much leads to why I had a lower weight on MVP. I wanted to give him the highlight that I think his striking is what it takes. But there's the potential that Kevin Holland scrambles for a takedown and potentially out grapples it. And I think that's a real possibility. And I mentioned it as part of my handicap too, that I fully believe this is MVP's hardest test. And his age isn't getting any lower, as you mentioned. So it's one of those things where he's really going to need to bring his A game. He's going to need to be pretty much the best version of himself to do what I'm predicting happens. But you mentioned too with Kevin Holland, I also wanted to quickly make a mention before we go into the last fight of our night here for Moneyline MMA, is that the mind games. Kevin Holland retires from MMA, retires from UFC, comes back and he fights and he's done and he's on and he's off. I just don't like Kevin Holland's mental game. I like him as a fighter, and I'm cool if he wins. Like, I like him as, I want him to succeed, but in the end, man, I don't like his mental that much. I don't know what kind of state of mind he's going in there with. You mentioned that MVP needs to go in there and win this fight because it's also like he's carrying the Bellator torch in a way. Like you said, Michael Chandler has had a successful UFC career for the most part, and he was a good signing. The UFC isn't perfect on new signings of players, and MVP is going to have that chip on his shoulder. Like, yeah, I'm going to make sure everybody knows that they're not just dicking around over in Bellator. Like, those dudes might not be popular, but they still know how to fight. And if Michael Page comes out here and brings it to Kevin Holland, Bellator is going to be very excited because they are going to be like, well, look, I guess PFL now. You know what I mean, though. They're going to be like, hell yeah, our fighters bring it to you. We have just as good of competition as the UFC, blah, 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 right? That's their new promotion. So, in the end, that's all I got for everybody in terms of my 2-weight on Michael Venom Page.
Yeah, and I'm interested. I see, and it shows a lot. Like, the UFC giving him Kevin Holland and putting him this spot on the card. And I was looking at their stats too before we went to the next fight. I'm just interested where they got their statistics from the UFC. On Michael Venom Page, I wonder if it's like all his fights accumulated together or just a certain sample of fights they took. But they even have him as like 100% takedown accuracy and takedown defense. So I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I wish there was like more statistics to compare him by. But as we mentioned, yeah, MVP's the real deal, and that being said, he's your 2-weight.
Yes, that brings us one last fight of the night, and that's your 1-weight.
Yes, and my 1-weight. This is the co-main event, and it's the lightweight bout between Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis. Right now, Dustin Poirier is the betting underdog at plus 172, while Benoit Saint Denis is the betting favorite at plus 225. This one, I'm going with the underdog, Dustin Poirier. I still think he's really good. I still think he's in his prime. He's only 35 years old. Yeah, he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje, but at this point, that was already like 8 months ago. And before that, he had a good he had a battle with Michael Chandler. And before that, we just know the story. He's been win loss, but he lost to the former champ Charles Oliveira, and he lost to the current BMF title holder Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje regardless is just tough opponent, brutal. You know what you're getting into when you go with Justin Gaethje, and no one really saw that leg kick, that head kick. Like that's like Justin Gaethje never throws those. So, but that being said, it's not like when we were talking about this earlier. I view this situation like I think he's an underdog, not only just because how good Benoit Saint Denis is, but because Dustin Poirier was knocked out 8 months ago, and that being said, Volk himself, he was just, I look at him like, comparing to that, like he recently got knocked out by Islam Makhachev, and coming in, I'm like, that was something we questioned, like, how is he going to react after being knocked out? Because it is known that some fighters, once they get knocked out for the first time in their careers, it gets easier to knock them out again and again. But the way I view it is that Volk, he also jumped in, I think, way too soon. Whereas Dustin Poirier, I think he gave himself enough time to truly heal and get ready to get back in the ring. He didn't jump in, almost fresh off a knockout just to get knocked out, just to get potentially knocked out again. It took his time, and I truly think he is in a really good state now where, I just don't think his lights getting shut out as quick is as big of concern as it was for Volk. I think 7 to 8 months is more than enough time. And that being said, I think he's just going to come in and just remind people how good he is and why he deserves to be there. As long as Islam's his champion, I don't see Dustin Poirier winning. But if it wasn't for Islam, there's a reason why Dustin Poirier is still hanging up. A bunch of these lightweights are in their mid-30s. Benoit Saint Denis, a little on the younger end. He's 28. Could be the future of this division if he gets this win. He carries a lot of power behind just behind his hands. Out of his 13 wins, he does only have 4 KOs, but he also has 9 submission wins. So like this guy, he is he has it all. He's a well-rounded fighter and he's explosive. And like that Matt Fravella fight too is Matt Fravella. That head kick also came out almost out of nowhere. So maybe he can catch maybe Dustin Poirier like that, which is why Dustin is also my one way. It's just how good Benoit Saint Denis really is. And he caught Matt Fravella in a head kick as Matt Fravella was just circling out, as opposed to where Dustin Poirier got knocked out by Justin Gaethje, where Gaethje was just straight head on in front of him in the center of the cage. So Benoit Saint Denis can catch people at weird angles when you least expect it. So I really want to see like how Dustin, I guess we'll have to see how Dustin Poirier is going to react and show what taking 7 months off will do. But I think that's enough time for him to really be sharp and have crisp and just be really in it. Dustin Poirier has crisp boxing alone, so I just think on the feet it's going to be a great matchup. I think on the feet this is going to be a phenomenal striking match. When it comes to the grappling department, possibly Benoit Saint Denis. Yeah, I would say he's the better grappler, but I mean, I don't even know. Dustin Poirier's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu as well, and it's not just shown enough. Benoit Saint Denis may be the one to want to engage and get a takedown, more likely, but Dustin Poirier, he's shown that he has phenomenal takedown defense, and I can see him also himself sinking in and getting possibly a rear naked choker. So he does have 8 submission wins of his own on his record. So that being said, if he doesn't finish Benoit Saint Denis, I definitely just see him winning this via unanimous. But again, he is my one way because Benoit Saint Denis, a lot of these guys, they're really just making statements and really just, to Poirier most recently too, it's just these guys that are looking really good and scary, and then they're being thrown in with the wolves. They're living up to, all the hype. So Benoit Saint Denis is a legitimate man that, we're throwing him to the wolves right now. And if, he's a legitimate contender to really live up to that hype as well. So that being said, that's why he is my one weight, Dustin Poirier, that is. And and I see a good value. I do truly see some good value with him being a plus 172 underdog. What are your thoughts on this fight, Nick?
I don't officially have a pick on it, and that's for obvious reason that I just think it's too close. And yeah, I got too much respect for both of these dudes in the ring. Definitely rooting for Dustin Poirier. I love Poirier. I'd love for him to continue to chase the belt. But, man, I got too much respect for what Saint Denis has done. I think if Saint Denis wants, he's got multiple ways to win. Looking at his win against Ismail Bonfim, I'm not sure Dustin Poirier could have done that. I don't know, man. I don't even think I could say like who I would pick either way in this fight, because I want Poirier to win and I don't want to pick someone against him. So, that being said, I like the thought of this fight going over distance too. If Saint Denis gets a finish, it's probably submission. I kind of doubt he gets a knockout, but hey, it could be one of those slippery slope things for Poirier. Who knows? But in any case, I don't have a pick on this one.
No, yeah, fair enough, man. And I mean, I think of it too. Like, if Dustin Poirier loses this, it could be like, we can start seeing that downfall of the diamond. Where I would definitely, if he loses Benoit Saint Denis, I don't think his chances of ever becoming champ, I definitely think are 100% like zeroed out, like no longer, like out of reach. Not even BMF, I would say.
I will say, Poirier's definitely getting in his older days too, and like already the word retirement has come out of his mouth. I'm not saying it's like a mindset thing, but I do believe the word retirement was used. Just gotta say that. You gotta wonder where his mindset is. He kind of knows. I promise. This is the last time I'm gonna say passing of the torch on this show. But look, that's exactly what this is in terms of the UFC promotion aspect. This is a younger prospect fighter coming in to take out the essentially the legend. I'd say Poirier is pretty close to legend status, and very curious to see what can happen. I agree that Poirier's had plenty of time from that knockout, so I'm not necessarily worried that Poirier's coming back too fast, but I'm just trying to respect the talent that Saint Denis brings.
No, yeah, yeah, and again, yeah, he did. Saint Denis is just such a. He is also a well-rounded fighter, and it's crazy. And I can see Dustin Poirier retiring because once you lose to the number 12th guy, like I don't know, like what is it doing? They're definitely going to catapult Benoit Saint Denis to the probably close to the top 5 as well. So yeah, it's a tough one. My least confident pick, but I got Dustin Poirier.
All right, well, that does it for us here at Moneyline MMA. We've covered 7 fights due to us not having matching picks on all the fights. Definitely go back and catch our show if you joined late. We always give our 5 weights first. Thanks for listening. We will be back next week for not quite as exciting of a card as UFC 299, but the UFC is bringing in some bangers on back-to-back weeks. I believe we have another heavyweight. After 299, I think it's Tuivasa. Is fighting somebody in the main event. So, heavyweight main event coming up after UFC 299. Tune in Monday afternoon to get our UFC 299 recap and our picks for the next fight night. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and have a great week.